Welcome. My name is Jim Paquette. I'm the athletic director at Loyola University, Maryland, and we're here at the 2017 NCAA convention in beautiful Nashville. I think it's raining out, but I'm not sure because I don't think we've left the hotel since we've gotten here. But it's been terrific, and I'm here with my colleague from the Patriot League, Dr. Billy Walker, who's the athletic director at American University, and my friend Brad Hewitt, who's the athletic director at Southern Illinois Edwardsville. We're here to talk a little bit today about Division I, kind of the lower resource schools. The schools that aren't in the Power Five, that really in terms of our resource challenge and how we kind of operate. So I wanted to kick it off with a question for you, Brad, and just to start out with, how does a small school drive and scale revenue? In a relatively small market?
Well, I think the reality of it is just changing the brand. And, we hear labels. We all challenge with labels. And, we hear the word sustainability. We're fortunate we're in a small community, but we're 25 minutes from St. Louis. But different state, so you got that river barrier. So for us, from a transition from a Division II school just in 2006 to Division I now, it was a constant focus on our brand awareness, who we are, what we stand for, our value systems, and any of every word that we could, utilize, whether it's academic or athletic, to show our achievements, and then talk about committing on a regional and national level. And that was the mantra from my boss I had at the time, and that's what we focused on. It starts with a brand. We got to change people's perception. And fortunately, in our environment, success built on success, and our alumni, who are 50,000 strong in a 60-mile radius of St. Louis, all of a sudden started putting their diplomas out on their desk in the St. Louis marketplace, putting our mugs and of all of our branding items. So to me, that's the essence of any success for a school like us, regional state institution, low, mid, whatever label they want to place on it, is to have people to believe in our brand and what we stand for.
So you strengthen the brand, differentiate the brand, then where is your greatest opportunity in terms of generating revenue?
Ours has been the exposure and then bringing in new sponsorships. Placing the metrics on it, we went from 16 sponsors as a very successful Division II program to 76 now, just 9 years later.
All in-house?
All in-house.
So you don't outsource it?
We just did, because, as in the state of Illinois, like everybody else, it's always funding for staffing. I lost the staff position, wasn't going to be refilled, so that's when we just went outsourced. And they believe, the company we have, is they're going to take us to the next level and maybe double that in time. But we were, our market segment was so thin when we started. So it's an opportunity. That's where our opportunities are.
Billy, different look. Washington, D.C., you're dealing with, a pro sports market. You're dealing with a market where we were in a presidential election year, where I think even the NFL TV ratings took a little bit of hit because of debates on Sunday. Kind of what's your experience been in terms of an American, in terms of driving revenue and, trying to enhance your brand?
Yeah, no, obviously we have to find our niche in the Beltway. As you know, just being up in Baltimore, it's tough because it's a pro city, but it's also a college city. We have with big universities within the Beltway or just outside. We have to compete with them as well. So we definitely focus on. It's not so much recreating a brand for us, because it's we've always, not always, but past several years had a pretty good brand, but we've really kind of focused it more and really and tried to push that out so everybody understands exactly what we are and exactly what makes us different from some of the other sport opportunities that people have in the DC area. So I think we've done a good job of that, really making sure that everybody understands the kind of student athletes that we have, and that it's pure sports, pure athletics, because our kids are fantastic students as well. And as you know, Patriot League is a good league to promote that as well. But we've done a lot of things with changing just our department philosophy that we put that out and everything, our core values that we've developed, and we put that on and everything. And I really think that that's helped with sponsors, with donors, and with just fans coming in, because I think they like what we stand for, and like to be able to come to. And sometimes we try to use that to our advantage. A smaller venue and a smaller event versus having to go to FedEx Field to watch the Redskins, or down the Caps or the Verizon Center or whatever.
Yeah, obviously we're the same league, similar market. I think in terms of our branding, it was a big decision for Loyola University of Maryland to join the Patriot League, in terms of a league that is nationally recognized as producing scholar athletes and competing at a very high level in Division I. And I think we've tried to use that brand, and I think it's really helped us. And just like you, I think we. The big gorilla in college sports for us is up the street at the University of Maryland,
Right.
Who's recently moved from the ACC to the Big Ten, and they command a lot of attention in that marketplace. We try to position ourselves as kind of an alternative, a more family-friendly, affordable, accessible. Our courtside seats are going to be a lot less than you'd have to get at Maryland, and Kevin Anderson does a great job there. The access to the student athletes, I think that's something that we try to do a really good job with. And our kids, we get a few knuckleheads, but I think most of our kids we get a lower percentage of knuckleheads than a lot of places have. Right. But in terms of revenue for us, I think that what we've had to do, couple of things. One, we've got to play guarantee games for basketball. I mean, that seems like it's the low-hanging fruit, but it's the reality of the economic reality of where we exist. So, our coach, Gigi Smith, is given a number every year, and he goes out and he does that. Two, we're trying to maximize corporate sponsorships. To be perfectly candid with you, in our market, that's a real challenge. It's really more like fundraising, an emotional buy. So it's like you're getting another pocket of an alum, who hopefully he's making a donation on one side, but also is contributing out of his company. But the third thing, which I think represents the greatest upside for us and really an unlimited ceiling, is fundraising and philanthropy. And that's where we've been able to take fundraising. 2010 we were, I can't even remember the number, but 2016 we were up 700%, for that. And so I think that's where we've gone. And if I had one position to hire on the external side, it would be fundraising, right. For it. So, we're at small schools with limited resources. Brad, how do you balance your time? You got to wear a lot of different hats, and kind of how do you go about in terms of, you've got to have your fundraiser hat on and your corporate sponsorship hat, and you're involved with sports administration and campus issues. How do you kind of manage your time and, try to do everything that you can do with really a limited staff?
The key to all that is hiring great people. But again, how do you hire great people? Sometimes you got to take a chance. You got to find that person who's young with good values. Hope you have enough time to help educate and train them and get them to others to get trained, but people you can trust. And all of our success is due to the fact we have a core 6 or 7 staff members who joined us when we made the transition back in 2007, and they're still with us. And though we grew our staff size with that process, it's still that same core people that are helping. So I'm in a great situation now. I can, as you said, bounce to the different. You try not to be reactionary, but we're in a business of reaction. And I can bounce to the critical issues because I don't have to maintain a constant attention to one or the other. And that's been our success story, is that we've had 5 really key people that have grown up with the program, and now all see that benefit. I love your comment about focus, Billy, because that's what we've done with everything. We're going to focus on our values. We're going to focus on our market share and grow our market share. We're not going to try and do everything. And so that's been one of our values, is focus.
Billy, talk about managing your time, because you've served on NCAA committees, which are really important. I think not only professionally, individually, but in terms of getting exposure for your institution. But balancing, you've been the chair of the wrestling committee, and you've got your own responsibilities on campus with a limited staff. Talk about how you balance your time and make it all work.
Yeah, well, I think when you're doing NCAA work, you're doing work for your university, just like you said. So, and for your programs and for all your programs. So, and that if that comes out of my own time, whatever that might be, that's the way it goes. But I think that is important, and I encourage the other people that work for me too, if they can get, if they can help with league or NCAA committees. I think it's great for them. It's good professional development for them as well. But as far as balancing time, I try to it's hard. You get sucked into, like you said, the day-to-day grind a lot of times. So, I try to make sure I force myself to step out and try to take a big picture on what's going on, and know that my job as the leader is to create that climate and environment and to keep that cultivated where everyone can succeed, right? And help us as a department to be successful. Because, I think everybody wants to be part of a successful team even more than individual success. So that's what I look at, and what that looks like is going to be different. Like you said, some days that means I'm going to have to spend more time in the development area, or some days it's going to be more time with talking to coaches and or student athlete, getting out. And as I'm sure it's nothing better than being able to get out from your office and go back go watch practice, or whatever. So. So yeah, I mean, it's there's not really a formula to it. I don't think on how much you're going to spend on everything, but trying to just ensure that you're giving everybody the resources and the leadership for them to do their job. And like I said, it all comes down to hiring good people, and we're fortunate there. I like to be in my staffing. I like to look around the room and think, I know the least amount in here, so because I'm hiring good people, so then I know we're in good shape.
Yeah, it gets back to my, I think, 16 years of fundraising at Boston College, major in the majors, so figure out what only you can do, and then what can be, delegated. I can tell you, as in my 7th year now, when I first got to Loyola, I wanted to be involved with everything.
Right.
And I probably was a little bit more of a micromanager than, looking back, than I should have, instead of, trusting your staff. Once you realize you had the right people in place and the right seats in the bus, letting them do their job, for it. And it's kind of those things. I want to be accessible, but I don't want to be too accessible. I've gotten better with email in terms of, I think I scan email and monitor email a lot better than I respond to email now internally. Because, I don't want the email of the balloon's supposed to be green or gray.
Yes.
And I kidded somebody the other day. There's a great Leo Tolstoy quote. Time and patience are the greatest warriors. And I kid sometimes. Sometimes if I don't respond to an email right away, all of a sudden the issue gets resolved. So, moving on, lot of changes in Division I. The Knight Commission came out with a report recently in terms of looking at what the revenue is going to look for at these Power 5 schools, over the course of the next 5 or 10 years, and as media right deals come up, and live sports seems to still be at a premium when TV contracts are going on. All of a sudden you've got these schools with budgets of 15 to 25 million, under the same tent with schools that have a budget of 100 million plus now. What is this all going to look like down the road? What does the Division I model look like?
I think the person who comes up with that answer is going to be very wealthy someday. So, you don't know. But, I spoke at our conference meetings yesterday on a couple of topics, especially those related around football. And I'm at a non-football school, but I'm the only one who was a former football player and coach. Mm-hmm. And I shared with them, we had these same discussions and arguments in the 80s. We had this same scenario. Dollar signs are a little different, but they were all there. It doesn't change. It recycles. It's people realizing that the marketplace only grows. Mm-hmm. Public interest only grows. We have so much more competition for the entertainment /dollar, or just even our own alums' times. So we got to really, as we talked about earlier, we got to focus on values, what we stand for, what we do, be proud of the fact that, we're graduating 80+% of our athletes, that, we're above a 3.0 every semester. All those things that matter in amateur academic athletics. Mm-hmm. And then just keep reiterating it. And, and this is one where, you have to react to the market. Mm-hmm. But we've ventured into television, been fortunate enough to land a regional broadcast for 10 basketball games a year. Mm-hmm. Doesn't happen to too many schools like us.
Correct.
But right place, right time, and now we're trying to grow that. So that's our lucky niche that we fell into, and now how do we capitalize on it? How do we compensate for what we don't have?
Yeah. Billy, anything?
Yeah, I don't claim to. Nobody can, right? Nobody can know exactly what things are going to look like 5-10 years from now. But I do think it's important to be poised and ready. To be nimble, as they say. If things do start changing, you have to, but not at the cost of who you are. And and that's what I talk to the people that work in our department, or that we hire. Whether it be coaches or administrators or young, first job folks coming out of college, to make sure that they understand what we represent and what they're signing up to be, and that the values that we hold dear within our department, and that they're gonna uphold those. And the same goes with recruits. Those are the kind of kids that we're going to be getting in. We talk to their parents about that. We talk to them about that, and they all know that. So I think that's all you really can control right now.
Right.
Is who you are as a university and a department, and then within our league as well. So where we're going to be, I got ideas, but I don't want to have them taped and be able to show them 5 years from now, right? When I'm
That's too much accountability.
When I'm completely wrong, right? Yeah. So you're right. It's tough to say.
We're all trying to look around the corner and see what's happening. And I think that I feel selfishly, and Billy, in the same situation. It's, I think these 1 AAA schools are uniquely positioned right now. I think football as a whole, different, complicated element. I think it's a terrific thing for schools, but, I look when you get outside of the Power 5, with the exception of a few places, I just, question how they're going to be able to sustain doing business the same way they're doing that. Now, I do feel like, there are niche sports. I think there's the basketballs. I think there's the soccers, the lacrosses, the hockeys, where I think some of these smaller schools can compete at a fairly high level. But I think you're going to have to be very strategic in terms of, where you put those resources. I think it's very difficult now, to have a very broad-based athletic program at a school that just doesn't have the revenue source. And even if you look at some of the Power 5 schools, outside of a small number, they've really concentrated their resources in a very small number of sports and choosing to fully fund those. So, I don't know where the future holds. I think the enterprise is a good thing. I agree with you. If we stick to our values, everything will work out fine.